Hey guys, Alex here checking in to go ahead and talk about what we're trying to do in this next cycle that we have here before we test. Okay, so since athletics has been open, if you've been a member with us from the beginning, we've gone through 2 full 4-week training cycles, and as we've talked about in prior videos, we use our training cycles to create an accumulative effect. Okay, so as the training cycles progress, the idea is that one 4-week cycle creates physical changes that allow the next 4-week cycle to build even greater improvements of fitness. So for example, our first 4-week training cycle was kind of like a base building block, which we had moderate weights with a high amount of volume. The idea was to build up this base, this foundation of quality movement that we could then build upon with some more plyometric work, some more Olympic lifting, some higher weights, some lower amounts of volume, in an effort to get this base that we've built into higher 1-rep maxes and higher power output. So higher maxes on our snatch, clean and jerk, greater vertical jump, other performance metrics that we're trying to improve. Okay, so we're having these cycles create this cumulative effect. So we've had these 2 cycles that we've done up until this time that have kind of built this nice base for us. In this cycle, in this 4-week cycle, what we're going to do is go ahead and try and make all of that training that we've done manifest itself in higher 1-rep maxes. Okay? And to do that, we have got to train for maximal speed and maximal force. Okay? And in order to do that, we have to do a couple of things from an exercise selection standpoint that you're going to be seeing throughout this cycle. In order to understand that, the first thing I want to talk about is the force velocity curve. Okay? So the force velocity curve is just a graph that shows that there's an inverse relationship between the amount of force that you can create and the speed at which that you can do that movement. Okay? So up here, we have movements that create a high degree of force at a very, very low velocity or low speed. So a good example of this would be a 1-rep max back squat. So if you think about the last time you did a 1-rep max back squat, chances are that bar moved very, very slowly, okay? That's because your body needs to recruit all of its available musculature and motor units in order to move that load, okay? And it takes a lot of time to recruit all of that musculature. So that's what you're doing when you're performing that 1-rep max back squat. You are trying to recruit all the available musculature to move the bar. In order to do that, it takes a while to recruit those muscles. Slower bar speed is usually what results, okay? So we need to train high force movements, low velocity in order to improve our rep maxes. However, what we also want to try and improve as we do that is the speed at which we can recruit those muscles. And in order to do that, we need to train high velocity, low force movements. So this would be like a max effort box jump, okay? So jumping as high as you can in one single explosive effort. So in that movement, in that box jump, there's not enough time to recruit as much available musculature as possible, okay? In beginner athletes, what happens is they're not well trained enough to recruit the strongest muscles fast. So what happens is your body always is going to prioritize slower, weaker muscles before stronger, faster muscles, okay? So what happens? You tend to recruit those muscles. There's not enough time to create tension in a box jump, so you end up not jumping as high. That's why we see new beginner athletes or deconditioned athletes not jump as high in a box jump, okay? Now, as we become better trained, what you tend to see is that as we train for jumps, as we train for higher strength and higher power output, what happens is that athlete is able to recruit all of that available musculature that much faster. And the larger, stronger muscles or motor units are able to fire faster, okay? That's when we start to see your box jump increase. So you can jump higher and you can lift more weight faster. And that's what we call a shift in the force velocity curve. That's what we're trying to do in this next cycle, is create a shift in this curve. What does this mean? This means that you can recruit as much force as you could initially at a higher speed. So that same 1-rep max that you had before, you're going to lift it a lot faster. What does that generally mean? It means that at this speed, you're going to be able to lift a lot more weight. So it's an improved 1-rep max, okay? On the other end of the spectrum, you're going to be able to recruit a lot more muscle and create a lot more force at the same velocity, or at a faster velocity. What does that equate to? A higher box jump, the ability to jump higher, faster sprinting. Basically increased athleticism is what we're going for. So that's what we're doing with this next cycle. We're going to include some more plyometric work. We're going to include heavier weights. We're going to include heavier weights at faster speeds, so you're going to get some additional rest. We are totally prioritizing athleticism and the speed at which we move the bar in this cycle, okay? And that's all gearing us up to this testing that we're going to be doing at the end of this cycle. So I don't have the date off the top of my head. I'll go ahead and include it in the notes here, but we're going to come in on that following week after this 4-week cycle is concluded and we've got the deload, and we are going to test all of these different physical attributes, okay? And at that time, we'll test things like 1 rep max box jump or vertical jump. We're going to test your back squat. We'll test snatch, clean and jerk, a whole bunch of metrics to go ahead and see if we have in fact moved this force velocity curve, okay? Side benefit to improve force velocity curve outside of just getting stronger and being able to be more athletic is that generally speaking, in order to move this curve, you generally have to gain more muscle, okay? So if you've moved this curve, you've made some neurological improvements. In other words, your body generally works better. You're able to recruit muscles faster. But you've also probably put on a fair amount of muscle mass in your first 3 cycles, okay? Or at least you're starting to put on some muscle mass to see some gains there, all right? So benefits from an aesthetic standpoint and from a performance standpoint. So that's all I got for today, guys. Just wanted to go ahead and explain that quickly. Sorry to get a little bit deep into science here, but wanted to give you some of the whys behind we're doing some of what we're doing in these classes in case you have any questions or look at a workout and are a little bit not understanding exactly why we're doing something. There it is. If you have any other questions, let me know. Talk to you soon and see you guys in class.